Hey, what's up guys? Today, I'll show you a psychological thriller film, Stoker. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. The movie begins with a young woman named India Stoker getting out of a car and she walks towards the field of hay. She looks at the grass as her voiceover plays, talking about her acuteness of senses. Thereupon, India sits beside her mother while they listen to the priest's tribute to her deceased father. After the funeral service, India silently listens to the maids gossip about the unfortunate event that caused her father's death. Then the housekeeper comes out, stopping the other servants from gossiping. Then the housekeeper asks if India found her gift for her 18th birthday. India informs the housekeeper that she has found the key in her present. At the memorial reception in their house, the mother introduces to India her father's charming younger brother, nicknamed Mr. Charming. Mr. Charming greets India, but his niece refuses to speak to him because she has never met him before. In her room, India lies on her bed, and she is surrounded by the boxes of presents that contain her childhood shoes. Meanwhile, the mother entertains her brother-in-law by sharing pictures and stories about her late husband and daughter. Back downstairs, India silently observes her uncle and avoids him whenever he is near. However, Mr. Charming manages to catch India sitting on the edge of the stairs. India looks at her uncle and says how much he looks like her father. Mr. Charming says his condolences, so India replies that her father's death is both their loss. Mr. Charming does not comment on that and informs India that he will stay with them for a while. The following day, while India is wandering their massive garden, she notices her uncle and the housekeeper arguing inside the maid's headquarters. India listens as the housekeeper complains about how she has been the eyes and ears of Mr. Charming ever since he was little. The housekeeper then opposes continuing to serve Mr. Charming anymore. Later that day, the mother looks for the housekeeper, but fails to find her. India informs her mother that she has not seen the housekeeper for hours. Shortly after, the mother invites her daughter to unwind outside, but India rudely replies that some cultures spend years mourning their dead loved ones before they distress. The mother dismisses India's replies and still convinces her to go out. The mother goes on how her daughter used to spend her days with her late father and pleads that India spends the day with her just this one time. However, India remains unmoved, so her mother goes out with her uncle instead. Left alone, India sneaks up to her uncle's bedroom and searches his belongings. India finds a leather pouch that contains her uncle's ID and documents, a Ray-Ban, a toy gun, and a present. India is shocked to see the same box inside her uncle's travel bag that her father used to give on her previous birthday. India attempts to open it, but her mother and uncle suddenly arrive. The mother then calls out for her daughter. So India fixes her uncle's belongings, gets downstairs, and sees her mother and uncle drinking wine. The mother informs her daughter that her uncle bought ice creams for her. The mother then looks for the housekeeper again, and her daughter tells her that she has also not seen the housekeeper. Confused, the mother wonders how they would eat later, as she is not a good cook. Then, Mr. Charming offers to cook dinner and instructs his niece to put the ice creams in the freezer. That night, upon tasting her brother-in-law's cooking, the mother reminisces how her late husband used to cook for her. Mr. Charming then politely asks to know her life, but the mother dismisses as she does not know where to start. Then, he talks about how his brother used to talk about family, and it upsets the mother, so she excuses herself. Left with his niece, Mr. Charming informs India that he wants them to be friends, but she replies it is unnecessary as they are already family. The next day, at India's art class, the bullies give inappropriate drawings to her, but she dismisses them and continues to draw. After class, India sees girls swarming up, and she finds her charismatic uncle leaning on his car, waiting for her. However, India refuses to acknowledge his presence and she proceeds to take the school bus. But the persistent uncle silently follows her until she safely walks inside the house. This goes on every day, but India always rejects her uncle. Then, one rainy day, as India gets home wet from school, she finds her mother too close to her uncle by the piano. The next day, her mother and uncle go out to play tennis. Her uncle informs India that he took her father's belt, and then he leaves with the mother. Later that day, the family receives an uninvited guest, Mr. Charming's aunt. The aunt subtly displays her concern about her nephew staying with the family at dinner. The aunt then informs the mother that she needs to talk to her immediately about her nephew's stay, but the mother upsettingly refuses. After dinner, the aunt discreetly gives her phone number to India, and she leaves to get to the hotel. However, the aunt changes her hotel due to unexplained fear and suspicion about her nephew. She then notices her phone missing and tries to get the hotel's help. But unfortunately, the hotel service is poor. The aunt then goes to a phone booth to call India, but her nephew shows up. Mr. Charming informs his aunt that he called the cab company to know if she got to the hotel, but they told him that she went to a different one. He then gets inside the booth and strangles his aunt to death using a belt. At the same time, India finds the housekeeper's body inside the freezer. The following day, Mr. Charming waits for his niece in her class, but India takes the back door upon seeing him. There she stumbles upon the bullies, who mocks her about her mother and uncle having an inappropriate relationship. This gets India's attention, so she stabs the bully's hand with a pencil. Just in time, another young man appears, sending away the bullies before they can harm her. The young man excuses their behavior, but India leaves quickly. The following night, India witnesses how her mother seduces her uncle. Seeing her mother and uncle's inappropriate behavior toward each other, India leaves the house. India goes to a local diner where she stumbles upon the young man from her school. They go into the woods where India provocatively initiates a move to the young man, aggressively biting his lips that it bleeds. Instead of getting mad, her behavior only stirs up the young man's libido that he attempts to rape her. Then Mr. Charming comes out of nowhere to help his niece. After tying the young man's hand at his back, Mr. Charming encourages his niece to avenge. So India looks down and repeatedly kicks the young man until he begs her to stop. After that, they silently return home. Then, India showers. She pleasures herself, and she reminisces about what happened after she beat the young man. Her uncle mercilessly uses her father's belt to break the young man's neck. And while her uncle buries the body in the garden, India calls the aunt's number, and she hears the phone ringing underground. India then realizes that her uncle is a murderer. After that, India goes to her mother and calmly confronts her about why she was making out with the uncle. Even though caught in the act, the mother denies her daughter's accusation and informs India that they will clean up her father's office tomorrow. The following day, India takes the initiative to clean her father's office. While going through her father's belongings, India finds a locked drawer and realizes that the key she received on her birthday belongs to it. India opens the drawer and finds childhood photographs of her father, her uncle, and another boy. She looks at the pictures and realizes that her father has 2 younger brothers, but she never met the other one. Also, she finds dozens of letters from her uncle over the years that contain his travels and wishes to meet her. But then she notices that the sending address of the letters is all from Crawford Institute, a mental institution. India contacts the police, but then changes her mind, so she drops the call, deciding to handle uncle alone. India confronts her uncle, starting with the Ray-Ban that he is wearing. She says that her father used to wear those glasses when he was driving, and they would have melted along with the car during his accident. Cornered, Mr. Charming confesses his inhumane acts to his own brothers, starting with their younger brother. It turns out that his older brother, India's father, used to play a lot with their younger brother, which sparked his jealousy. So he decided to kill him by burying him alive in a sandbox, so that India's father would pay more attention to him. After that, he was put in a mental institution, where he spent almost 2 decades waiting for India's 18th birthday. India's father later escorted Mr. Charming out of the facility and gave him a car, money, and an apartment in New York, with one condition of staying away from his family. Mr. Charming felt hurt and betrayed, so he beat him up to death with a car and staged his death to look like a car accident. India is shocked and angry by the confession, but her uncle remains unfazed and informs her that he has come to give her a present. Mr. Charming pulls out the box from his travels and opens it. The box contains a pair of stiletto heels. He says it's for her to be more of a lady and replace her childish saddle shoes. Shortly after, a doorbell ring interrupts them. The sheriff interrogates India about the young man's disappearance. He says that according to some witnesses, India was the last person seen with the young man. India calmly handles the situation and lies to the sheriff, and her uncle provides an alibi for her. After the sheriff leaves, Mr. Charming tries to be intimate with her and tells her that he wants her to come with him to New York. India seemingly forgives her uncle and agrees to go with him. Then the mother suddenly gets out of her room and witnesses the two getting too close to each other. Thereupon, with full of hatred, the mother expresses her desire to watch her daughter suffer for betraying her. However, India remains unmoved, so the mother leaves her and invites her brother-in-law to her room. There, the mother confronts the uncle about her suspicions. She says that from the start she knew something was wrong. She knew her husband well, that only a family would make him drive miles away because he did not want to be away from his daughter. The aunt also vanishes for no reason after she visits with them. She also adds that she knew that he was in a mental facility. Then, the mother offers herself so that her daughter can be safe. However, Mr. Charming replies that his niece is at the right age to make decisions for herself. Then, he seduces the mother, and the mother falls into his trap. So Mr. Charming uses her weakness and strangles the mother with his brother's belt. He then calls out to his niece to see her mother suffering, and India complies. However, India comes to the room with a shotgun and shoots her uncle in the neck. The mother watches her daughter with fears in her eyes as India inexpressibly looks at the dead body. After that, India buries the body in the garden and leaves her mother using her uncle's car. Afterward, India is pulled over for speeding by the sheriff. The officer asks what the reason for her hurriedness is, so India politely replies that she wants to catch his attention. Finally, India stabs the sheriff with a pair of pruning shears. The film ends as the officer runs to the hayfield to escape while holding his wound, and India follows him and proceeds to kill him with her shotgun. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.